Currently, it is 85 degrees here on the campus of St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley. I'm Jell with your noon news update. A former Hazelwood police dispatcher is heading to jail for stealing money meant for a local police officer paralyzed in the line of duty. April Briscuso was sentenced to 60 days behind bars yesterday after pleading guilty to stealing nearly $10,000. Authorities say Briscuso started raising funds for Officer Craig Tudor after he was seriously hurt in a car accident in 2016. She then used the money to gamble at casinos. A teenage robbery suspect is in custody following a crash in St. Louis. Authorities say the 16-year-old boy was spotted driving a car yesterday morning in Jennings that was being sought in an armed robbery and theft case. Officers tried to pull him over, but the teen sped away. He was arrested after crashing in St. Louis near North Grand Boulevard and West Florissant Avenue. And the city of DeSoto is keeping its own police force. City Council voted last night to end its contract with Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. The decision came after Sheriff Dave Marshak released a report saying the department needs reform. City officials also hired Jeff McCreary to be the new police chief. As for the weather, today it is partly cloudy with a high of 89, a low of 69. Tomorrow it will be partly cloudy with a high of 88, a low of 68. Thursday, there will be morning thunderstorms with a high of 87, low of 73. Friday, partly cloudy, high of 91, low of 70. And Saturday, mostly sunny with a high of 88, low of 68. Currently, it is 85 degrees here at KCFV. I'm Jell, and this has been your noon news update. But please stay tuned, because after a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. We'll, of course, kick the show off with new game releases for this week and next week and what anime are in theaters, and then continue to roll on with all sorts of video game news and information. But until then, here is Page Avenue by Story of the Year, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind, and thank you so much for listening. That was Page Avenue by Story of the Year, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, we like to kick the show off with what the new game releases for this week are, what's coming out next week, and what anime are coming to theaters. So let's get started. PlayStation 4, what have you got for us? Well, today the PS4 has gotten Adventure Time, Pirates of the... Oh, egad, I can't pronounce that word. Enchiridion. That's Pirates of the Enchilada. Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion. Black Sea Odyssey. Chicken Assassin Reloaded, which is indeed about a chicken with a gun. Far Cry 5, Lost on Mars, which I assume is an expansion pack for Far Cry 5 that lets you go to Mars. Frost. Gene Rain. Hitman, Summer Pack. Hop Along, The Badlands. Hungry Shark World. Ice Cream Surfer, Let's Sing 2018, Mother Gunship, Mugsters, Race Arcade, Sonic Mania Plus for all you Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Squirrel fans, Super Destronaut DX, Super Dungeon Tactics, Tempest 4000, finally. Cripes, that was a debacle getting that game released. The Path of Motus, and Toho Genso Wanderer Reloaded. The Sonic Mania Encore Pack is scheduled for tomorrow. I assume that's the just expansion pack content for people who already own Sonic Mania. The Moose Man. And then, let's see. Yes, Gacha Racing 2nd, Guts and Glory, Hue, and a physical release, I guess, of Thumper. On Xbox One, we got Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion, Far Cry 5, Lost on Mars, Hitman, Summer Pack, Hungry Shark World, Mother Gunship, Mugsters, Sonic Mania, plus Tempest 4000, The Path of Motus, Sonic Mania Encore Pack, The Long Reach, The Moose Man, Guts and Glory, Nidhogg 2, Dolings, and Frost. Switch, meanwhile, is getting Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion, Hand of Fate 2, Hungry Shark World, Let's Sing 2018, Mugsters, Sonic Mania Plus, Toho, Genso Wanderer Reloaded, Animal Rivals Nintendo Switch Edition, Sonic Mania Encore Pack, The Moose Man, Vertical Strike, Endless Challenge, Arcade Archives Neo Geo, League Bowling, Arcade Archives City Connection, Chicken Assassin Reloaded, Frost, Guts and Glory, Johnny Turbo's Arcade Shootout, Lost Phone Stories, No Reload Heroes, Pool Panic, Sausage Sports Club, Starship Avenger Operation Take Back the Earth, Tanzia, Hiroki, Spheroids, Thumper, VSR Void Space Racing, and Werewolf Pinball. Meanwhile, the Vita is getting Space Jacked, Ice Cream Surfer, and Super Destronaut DX. And the 3DS is getting Sanrio Characters Picross. So that's all for this week. What have we got scheduled for next week? Well, next week, the PlayStation 4 is getting the Persistence. I don't know if that has a non-VR mode, but I know that is some kind of attempt at a VR roguelike. I'm going to be honest, there was a demo up and I wasn't very impressed. Mostly, I just couldn't figure out what to do in the demo. I couldn't figure out how to attack enemies, and that's not a good sign. Needless to say, it was controller-based instead of... Well, maybe not needless to say, but it was controller-based, not motion-based. So I'm just sort of sitting there, trying all the buttons on my controller, trying to see what they want me to... I couldn't find a weapon! It was, the Persistence was not grooving with me, which is a shame, because a VR roguelike is a brilliant idea. I'm sure we'll get another one eventually. Anyway, we're also getting Earhart, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2, The Banner Saga 3, The Council Episode 3, Ripples, Train Sim World, and, let me see, is that still next week? Yes, Hello Neighbor and The Banner Saga Trilogy Bonus Edition are coming to PS4. Xbox One is getting Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2, No Man's Sky, The Banner Saga 3, The Council Episode 3, Ripples, Train Sim World, Candle, The Power of the Flame, Radiant 1, and The Banner Saga Trilogy Bonus Edition. The Switch will be getting Zakaria Pinball, Flashback 25th Anniversary Collector's Edition, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 and 2, individually or together, Semblance, Toby, The Secret Mine, Voez, 2064, Read-Only Memories Integral, Candle, The Power of the Flame, Crossing Souls, Sleep Tight, The Banner Saga 3, Element, Final Light, The Prison, Go Vacation, Hello Neighbor, and Tiny Hands Adventure. The Vita is getting nothing, nor is the 3DS next week. So that wraps up our new game releases. But what anime will be hitting theaters? Well, from the 20th through the 26th will be Makia When the Promised Flower Blooms, which I have heard very good things about. I'm going to try to see that. I know that's at the Tivoli. I don't know if it's going to be anyplace else, but that's Makia When the Promised Flower Blooms from the 20th through to the 26th. Princess Mononoke will be playing as part of Studio Ghibli Fest. It will be in theaters July 22nd dubbed, July 23rd subbed, and July 25th dubbed. Meanwhile, Sailor Moon R and S movie double feature will be July 28th dubbed and July 30th subbed. So that wraps up our new game releases and what anime are in theater for this week and next week. Although, do stay tuned. I think it was September is when we've got Broly hitting theaters. The old Broly. In preparation for the new Broly. Anyway, that about wraps that up. So, yeah, I will kick you all back to the music. And then when we get back, we will have our video game news and information. Until then, here is Pale Glow by Troubadour Dolly, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and please stay tuned for more GameBabble Live. That was Talk Back by Dairy Boy Montana, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. And welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Sorry about the kind of lengthy break, but it usually winds up getting hard to cram video game news and information in there between the new game releases and the half-hour break. Anyway, break's over. We're here. Let's talk video game news. And, well, here's an interesting one. Who remembers Bethesda's E3 presentation? Remember the part where they were joking about how Skyrim had been ported to every console under the sun, and so they were like, we're going to do an Alexa port of Skyrim. It was a joke. It was funny. You had the guy talking to Alexa playing Skyrim, and it was funny. Haha. No, that was real. Skyrim for Alexa is out. You can play Skyrim on your Google Home. It works the same way it showed in the trailer. That was not a joke. We thought they were joking. They weren't joking. They weren't joking. So yes, it plays kind of like D&D, where you're just talking to Alexa and it's telling you things. Honestly, kind of ingenious. Kind of wish I had an Alexa. I'd play that. It's adorable. So yeah, there is that. Moving on from that, though, every episode I've realized I have a section where I complain about fighting games. Because I think everyone's doing it wrong. Like, a lot. Last week, I was complaining about Soul Calibur 6 and how I'm worried about the fact that they appear to be using the Soul Calibur 4 models, which a friend of mine now informs me they will be selling the Soul Calibur 4 costumes as DLC. As if we needed any more confirmation that they're just copying Soul Calibur 4. You know what needs to be said? This needs to be said. If you are seriously going to look me in the face and try to tell me that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a port of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, then Soul Calibur 6 is very much a port of Soul Calibur 4. At least Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has new character models. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm really worried about Soul Calibur 6. I'm picking it up. I love Soul Calibur. There's really no alternative. There's no other game like Soul Calibur. But I am braced for impact. And yeah, that's going to go over well. Anyway, episode before that, I'm pretty sure I was complaining about fighting EX Layer. I know I've complained about Street Fighter plenty. I know I've complained about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite plenty. I feel like every week I have some kind of new complaint for fighting games. Well, for once, I have good news. I have good news related to fighting games, related to fighting EX Layer. It would appear that Volcano Rosso and Pullum Perna will not only be coming to fighting EX Layer, supposedly, I'm still convinced this is some kind of typo or translation error, they will be coming for free. This is surprising because fighting EX Layer is utterly caked with microtransactions because it's a last-ditch effort to save Eureka, the company making the game. So the fact that they're like, oh yeah, no, two of our most desirable characters, yeah, we'll give those to you for free. Okay. They just put out a teaser trailer for them showing a new poolside stage. So I guess we're getting a new stage with them too. And they've already announced that arcade mode version 0.80 will be coming in a patch sometime soon. They were going before the end of July. They will put arcade mode in fighting EX Layer. Thank God. I cannot stress this enough. That was the number one flaw of fighting EX Layer. See, we were really lucky. I'm admitted. I know I mentioned this last week, but I'm admittedly a little jealous of fighting EX Layer because I really liked Chaos Code, and I was there when Chaos Code launched. It's a great game, costs less money than fighting EX Layer, has more content, but when it came out, no one bought it. I was there looking for matches online, and there was no one playing that game online. There was no one talking about it. It didn't matter that it was a phenomenal game with phenomenal netcode. No one played Chaos Code. But that was okay, because Chaos Code had more than enough single-player content to justify the price. Fighting EX Layer launched at twice the price, and yet had, like, next to no single-player content. But it was fine, because the fighting game community rallied together and all supported the game, and you could actually find matches online for Fighting EX Layer. Couple that with very good netcode and a few good design decisions about how the match searching worked, where you can, search for matches while you're playing the other modes. And Fighting EX Layer pretty much worked out. It was fine. And thank goodness it was. Because again, the only way you could play against the computer was this, hidden survival mode in training mode that you could only play on the training stage, which, that would have been fine if the game was cheaper, but considering the price tag they were going for, it was pretty unacceptable. There was no way to fight a computer opponent in a stage. That's getting fixed. I don't know what makes arcade mode 0.80 different from a 1.0 release, but I don't care. We're getting an arcade mode. They're patching it in by the end of the month. Thank God. Meaning that Fighting EX Layer will actually now be what I would consider a more complete game and actually kind of worth the money. Because again, looks great, plays great. We got 2 new characters on the horizon. Yeah, I'm pretty down with some Fighting EX Layer now. I'm actually glad I bought it. I was prepared to throw money at them for Pull and Perna. Now, I've been getting some mixed signals that I need to do a little bit more research on, because some people seem to be implying that you would only get the free characters if you bought the more expensive version, but I need to look into that, and that's also been a point of confusion, because a lot of people think that there's some kind of free-to-play version. There's not. The light version just costs a little bit less than the full version. So, yeah, and I bought the light version because I was really displeased with the initial release of Fighting EX Layer. Now, I kind of wish I would have bought the full one, but it's all good now. That makes me happy. It is also worth mentioning, as we move right along, that Sega Saturn emulation is working pretty well now. I've been messing around with Mednafen, as you might notice from some of my videos, and yeah, the latest build actually supports the Saturn for online. Now, on my computers, I will admit to having trouble running polygonal Saturn games. I guess the Sega Saturn emulation is a little bit too good because it makes your computer bad at polygons. Other people didn't have any problems, but for me, there were constant slowdown and hiccups with me trying to run polygons on a Sega Saturn. But you play a 2D Saturn game, it takes a lot less powerful of a computer to run it. Thank goodness, because that meant I finally got to play Asuka 120% Limit Over. I've been messing around with that, kind of getting a crew together for online matches. Really sinking my teeth into that. I'm hoping to, sometime this week, do a stream of that and introduce y'all to the wonders of Asuka 120%. Maybe we'll go back and play some of the earlier Asukas as well, but if nothing else, we gotta play us some Asuka 120% Limit Over, especially because I'm actually weirdly good at that game. Although a friend of mine is catching up. It'll be a little bit trickier. I won't just be backflipping on fools. Anyway, moving right along, I do feel I feel that's good news to know, because the Sega Saturn is a very strangely built system, and a lot of people have had a lot of trouble getting it to work, because the 3D is very bolted on and doesn't work like 3D on literally anything else. Because you see, 3D, we're going to keep talking about the Saturn, screw it. The 3D on a normal video game, the polygons are triangles. Everything is made up of hundreds of thousands of little tiny triangles. On the Saturn, however, they're rectangles. Only system that does rectangles. In fact, the way a lot of people put it is that the Saturn doesn't really generate polygons. It generates a bunch of sprites and warps them into the shape of polygons. Which is funny because the PS1 was described as literally the opposite, that it couldn't do 2D, it just had polygons with sprites textured on top of them. So, the PS1 couldn't really do 2D and the Saturn couldn't really do 3D. That's the way it is. It's a funky fresh time when it comes to the Sega Saturn. But the fact that it generates polygons based on freaking moon logic has made it an overwhelmingly difficult system to emulate. I mean, think of how long we've had near-perfect PS1 emulation, and only now are we getting the Saturn to an acceptable level. We might still be a little ways off from you being able to really play Panzer Dragoon Saga. Honestly, that's something worth checking. I think Panzer Dragoon Saga might work if you have a meaty enough computer, which is good, because everyone needs to play that game. You might already be familiar with this story, but I may as well continue with it for those not in the know. Panzer Dragoon Saga was considered to be the Sega Saturn's answer to Final Fantasy VII, and some people honestly considered it to be even better. Unfortunately, it was one of the last Sega Saturn released games in North America. They made one print run, and they quit. It got rave reviews, it sold out day one, and Sega just didn't produce any more. The game is now legendary and legendarily expensive to own. I lucked out when I found mine at Funko Land all those years back. And I can safely confirm it is a very, very good RPG unlike anything else. But yeah, good luck finding finding a copy isn't that hard. It's just expensive. Because everyone sells their copy because they know they can get fat cash for it. But yeah, Panzer Dragoon Saga is legendary like that, and a lot of people go, well, why haven't they re-released it? Why haven't they just, put it out on new systems? Well, aside from the fact that Sega Saturn emulation is a pain in the butt that we're only now getting the hang of, they kind of sort of lost the source code a while back. Sega's really bad at holding on to source code. They've lost the source code to a lot of their old games. And so, yeah, a lot of people are like, well, it's trapped on Saturn. No, we just have to master Sega Saturn emulation, and then it can be ported. Honestly, I think M2 could do it. I know I talk a lot about M2, but I think if Sega told M2 to port Panzer Dragoon Saga to modern consoles, I think M2 could do it. I believe they could do it. Anyway, moving right along. Dungeon Fighter Online is celebrating its 13th anniversary. That's right, the MMO beat-em-up that you probably haven't heard of has been running for 13 years in South Korea, being one of their most popular games, and apparently still going pretty darn strong. Here in America, we literally just today got the new Gunblader class. I think it's called the Gunblader. Is it the Gunblader or the Agent? Whatever. We got the guys that have the gun and the sword, and along with a hip-hop clothing pack and all sorts of new events. They just did a big old new update. Hoorah! Dungeon Fighter is certainly a good time. I know the U.S. global server population is kind of low, but it does certainly still have its fans, and I'm very glad that Neopal decided to reopen that one. And I think I'm going to save this next news story for later. Apparently, new Gundam Breaker is not so hot. We'll talk about that in a bit. But, moving on, Octopath Traveler. It is out, and it has sold better than any Bravely Default. Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good for itself. Those unfamiliar, Octopath Traveler, you can find a demo. It's on the Switch. And it's this, modern retro-style turn-based RPG from Square Enix, wherein they rendered the game with 16-bit style sprites in a 3D environment with 16-bit style textures, but with modern lighting effects, which sounds really dumb, but weirdly works in action. Because they go all in on those modern lighting effects. So that way things are, things are really casting shadows. You have all these flickering lights and things that actually takes what sounds really dumb on paper and makes it look really cool and dramatic. It's a game with 8 different playable characters. It very much takes after the Saga series, like Romancing Saga and Saga Frontier and the like, minus the whole being a Saga game, for better or for worse. It has a job system, 8 different main characters, all sorts of NPCs that you can recruit. It seems pretty neat. Although I will say, it's really, really weird how many people are trying to make their own Saga game that isn't Saga. Because if I'm not mistaken, there's Legend of Legacy, The Alliance Alive, and now Octopath Traveler, all doing all this. Meanwhile, we do have Saga Scarlet Graces on the horizon, which sounds very weird, considering it has, like, no real world map and no dungeon. It's pretty much all just fights. I don't know, I'm scratching my head at that one, but we'll see what Akitoshi Kawazu manages to pull off. But I do find it funny that everyone is trying to copy the Saga series all of a sudden for their retro-style RPGs. And last one before we hit another break, the special Shonen Jump edition of the Famicom Mini is selling like hotcakes. To those of you unfamiliar, the NES Mini, of course, has a Japanese counterpart with the Famicom Mini, and they released a special gold edition that is all Shonen Jump themed. It's like partnered with Shonen Jump. The box looks like a Shonen Jump magazine, and pretty much it contains all anime and manga licensed games from Shonen Jump, which, for the record, means that the game quality is actually a lot worse. Because, yeah, I've played some of these games. I've played the Muscles game on NES. It isn't good. I've played the old Dragon Ball game on NES. It's a childhood favorite of mine, but it isn't good. Find that game almost Dragon Power. Game's almost unplayable without a Game Genie due to the friggin' hunger system in it. And it's a lot of games like that. It's a lot of games that actually are really, really bad, but they're based on licenses. So that's an interesting one, and I could see it selling very well, because of course, that one's never getting released in America, because most of those games didn't get US releases, and were bad. They only make sense for Japanese nostalgia's sake. And so I understand why it's selling, and I understand why that's never coming to America, meaning that it sells even better, because I guarantee you there's a bunch of Western collectors trying to get their hands on those Shonen Jump Famicom Minis for collectors' sake. Me, I think I'm good. On that note, do remember that the NES Mini has been re-released. They are now actually being stocked. You might be able to find one at a normal price. So yay for that. Anyway, time for another break. And when we get back, there will be more video game news and information. So, until then, though, here is Of Buttons and Levers by Arco's Angel, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and please enjoy and stay tuned for more. That was Two Vaults by T Grizzly featuring Lil Yachty, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. I forgot to mention, when talking about Fighting EX Layers' upcoming free characters and the arcade mode 0.80, number one, they will have more information about the free characters at EVO. Number two, I still see no signs that it won't be coming to the light version. We will see, because I really do have a hard time believing that they're just going to give me Palamperna. But they might. That's what they're kind of claiming. But more than that, there will be a live stream from the developers of Fighting EX Layer on the 19th at 4 a.m. Pacific on Daigo Umehara's channel. So that's twitch.tv/Daigo the Beast. It would be at 4 a.m. because, of course, they're in Japan. Still, might be worth tuning into. That'll be on the 19th. So that's, let's see, yeah, that's Thursday. Thursday, 4 a.m. They will be streaming the game. It's the first time they've streamed the game since launch. So I assume they're probably going to do a bunch of online matches. That'll be entertaining. Probably, maybe, hopefully show off the new characters. We'll see. But yeah, they'll be doing a stream of that. Anyway, you're ready for a story. I know I'm a little late on this. See, I've been a little short on funds, so I haven't exactly been able to just go out and buy games like crazy, which it would appear from this story is a good thing. See, last month, on the 22nd of June, I believe, they released New Gundam Breaker. Now, Gundam Breaker is an interesting game series. There have been 3 so far, and they've been really good. They're basically a Gundam build fighters game, but what that translates to is that it's a game where you're actually playing as Gundam model kits, not actual Gundams, but the general idea is that it's like Gundam Monster Hunter. You build your own Gundam out of parts from different Gundams, and then you go into dungeons, beat up a bunch of other Gundams to knock off their parts and take them to build more Gundams and further customize your Gundam, and the customization on your Gundam is utterly nuts, and you team up with people online, but it is very much a co-op game, not a competitive game. It's completely unbalanced for competitiveness, but it was pretty darn cool. Now, the first 3 games were on Vita, but the third one also got a PS4 port, and more than that, they released Gundam Breaker 3 in English, but not in America. You had to import it from, like, Hong Kong or somewhere in Southeast Asia. But they did release Gundam Breaker 3 in English 2 years ago. Super fun game, had a blast with it. I mean, there were a ton of parts to find. There was a ton of customization. You could spend quite a few hours just building cool Gundams in Gundam Breaker 3. But now they've decided to make New Gundam Breaker, one designed specifically for PS4, and that's the first one they're actually releasing in America, and it came out on the 22nd, and it has disappointed everyone. Actually, disappointment would be putting it lightly. Apparently, Japanese users want to declare New Gundam Breaker the worst game of 2018. They are returning the game en masse to such a massive degree that it is 87% off on Amazon. It came out last month. The price, I can't say the price, but it is rock freaking bottom. People are they haven't released the Steam version of New Gundam Breaker, and everyone's actually asking for it to be canceled. To cancel the Steam version of New Gundam Breaker and just port Gundam Breaker 3 instead. The Japanese fans, of course, are horribly disappointed that the general American audience's first taste of this series is this abysmal game, and they are actually demanding an apology to the world from Namco Bandai. I have never seen a game tank this bad, and they're like banding together to help people pick up Gundam Breaker 3 instead and find the best deals on it, which is getting hard because now Gundam Breaker 3, the 2-year-old game that was a port of a Vita game, is in such high demand that its price has gone up and it costs more than New Gundam Breaker, which just came out last month. The game from 2 years ago now costs more than the game from 1 month ago. That's how bad it's gotten. People have just been slamming it. It's like, 1 out of 5s across the board on Amazon. And again, like, I've seen games get slammed with 1 out of 5s on Amazon as a form of protest from angry Japanese gamers. I remember when that happened to Tales of Zestiria. But in this case, the game's 87% off. Amazon can't give these games away. New Gundam Breaker is that bad. So what's so bad about it? Well, for starters, it doesn't run well. See, they got so carried away with their fancy PS4 visual effects that they didn't actually optimize the game. It runs stupid slow. The game is it's just tons and tons and tons of slowdown, numerous parts where the game will just freeze for a while. It just doesn't run well. In general, your Gundams move way slower than they did in the previous games anyway. There's a ton of bugs. Shoot, there is a bug that allows you to infinitely fire the GP-02A's nuke, which, I could go into detail about what the GP-02A Syphalis is, but you don't need me to. I just told you, it has a nuke, and you can fire infinite nukes because it's that buggy. The controls are apparently incredibly wonky, like it's a pain in the butt to just switch what enemy you're targeting. It's missing half the suits, half the Gundams from the previous game. They're just gone. It's just missing random features. Like, a big one is one of the things you could do is they had these things called builder's parts, which were like extra cannons and missile pods that you could strap onto your Gundam. You put them on put an extra missile pod on their shoulder, put a big ol' extra gun on their arm, and you could actually fire those in Gundam Breaker 3. Not in New Gundam Breaker. Apparently the plot's terrible too, but I don't play Gundam Breaker for the plot, so I'm okay with that. And also, it's hard to get parts, and this is a really, really bad design choice. So, Gundam Breaker, as I said, it is a game about going through dungeons and grinding for parts. And in New Gundam Breaker, they're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could, like, hack off an enemy Gundam's arm and then immediately pick it up and equip it to your Gundam? But this feature wound up causing a huge problem, because now, instead of just walking over a part to pick it up, you have to manually grab the part, and you have a limited inventory of 5 pieces. And if you want to carry more than 5 pieces, you have to find an item box to drop off your pieces in. That's a problem, because the entire point of Gundam Breaker is running through dungeons over and over and over again, collecting gigantic piles of Gundam parts. The fact that you have to do this stupid inventory management manual pickup nonsense to collect parts hurts like the central core of the game. And judging from the sheer amount of backlash, I'm going to guess there's even more issues than just this. But the point is, well, I guess you could say it's a contraction pack. This is a term I hate. This is a term that there's got to be a better term for it, but people do find it funny when I call things contraction packs, so we're going with contraction packs. That is my term for when you basically re-release the same game but with less content. In this case, it's an engine reboot. The previous games were on Vita, and so they could build off one another, but they were like, no, we're going to do one that really takes advantage of the PS4's graphics, and so that meant they had to redo a bunch of the content, which I don't think they really did. Because you don't... Look, giant robots are pretty easy to render. You don't need that powerful a system or that many polygons, because, they tend to be pretty angular. They probably could have copy-pasted the Vita models and just put them on a new lighting engine. But no. We lost half our Gundams. And a lot of features. On top of it running worse. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, no, that's a problem. This game is all about collecting Gundams, and half of them are missing. It's missing a ton of features, and it runs worse. So, objectively speaking, it is an inferior game to the 2-year-old Gundam Breaker 3. There's like a few new mechs that are in there that people would kind of like to use. But other than that, yeah, no, just Gundam Breaker 3 was the objectively superior game. Thankfully, to anyone who is a very I am in awe. The part that gets me isn't just the fact that people are angry about this, there's huge backlash and the games are getting returned. It's the fact that it's 87% off on Amazon, and that's not a Prime Day deal. It's been that way pretty much since launch. The fact that this game is unselling that badly that people are pretty much just throwing the game away en masse in Japan. It's like, wow, I don't think I've seen this kind of a backlash against the game, and again, I will say that is perfectly justified when a company screws up that badly. Unfortunately, it's Namco Bandai. They've got a lot of fallbacks. They're going to release something that isn't complete garbage. But I think it says a lot that this level of backlash happened. And I do hope it sends a message. Because as much as Namco Bandai can take the hit, I think they should also look at it and go, oh, wow, this game's sales are literally in the negative. We owe people this game now. I mean, again, it says something when they're like, we're going to delay the PC release due to performance issues, and everyone's just like, just cancel it. Just cancel it. Release the previous game on PC instead, please. But, to anyone who... Crap, that might have been loud, sorry. To anyone who was looking forward to a new Gundam game, I do have some good news. In Japan, Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation 2 launches July 26th. Pre-registration is now live, and there are rumors of an English version is February. But why do you care about this Japanese game? Easy, it's free to play, and it's not hard to make a Japanese PSN account. You can just Google that up. So, although I do need to recover mine. It appears my Japanese account got hacked somehow. But... yeah, no, if you have a Japanese account, you can download the game for free and play it when it goes live July 26th. And Gundam Battle Operation is a pretty interesting game. I fiddled around very briefly with the first game on PS3. See, it's actually more of a realistic Gundam simulation. It's essentially Mech Warrior with Gundams. And the big shtick with Gundam Battle Operation 2... is that you actually have a pilot. You can get out of your Gundam and run around on foot and shoot people. And you can, of course, customize your pilot as well. And I think you can hijack people's Gundams. I'm not 100% sure, but you can run around on foot and try to fight Gundams that way. You can hop in a Gundam and commandeer it. It's 6-on-6 team battles. And, yeah, it's realistic Gundam. It's Gundam Mech Warrior. And I'm like, you know what? That sounds pretty good. That sounds like something I might want to actually play a bit of. I think I do want to put a little more time into this one. Give it a real spin. I really do hope it gets a US release. I certainly don't intend to spend actual money on it until it does. But... I'd love to play some Gundam Battle Operation 2, and hopefully that will be less of a disaster than New Gundam Breaker. Having said that, if it isn't, I could just dump the game because it's free. That's the upside of that one. Anyway, I do believe it is time for yet another break, so... we are going to kick you back to the music with Electrified by Just Loud. And when we get back, we will have more video game news and information. But please enjoy Electrified by Just Loud here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for... That was Happy Hour by Weezer here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, good news to any aspiring indie game developers who just look at even the simplest tools and go, this might be a bit much for me. In other words, me. Hi. I've been trying to make a basic platformer for a while, and I tried using good old Game Maker. It's like, okay, this is for the most part easy to use, but there is so much troubleshooting and headaches. It's like, got it partially working, but just not working well enough. Well, to anyone else out there who can dream up a game but can't quite get it working, I got some good news for you. Pixel Game Maker MV will be entering Steam Early Access July 24th, and it will be 20% off. Still a little pricey, but it costs a little more than a full price game, but it looks really easy to use. Indeed, Pixel Game Maker MV, which is the US name of Action Game Maker MV, that's what it's called in Japan. Pixel Game Maker MV is indeed from the makers of RPG Maker. So if you've ever used RPG Maker, which is one of the easiest things to use, and that's something I actually have cobbled something together in, because RPG Maker is just so easy. Shoot, there's an RPG Maker coming to Switch pretty soon, by the way. If you've ever used RPG Maker, and you know how easy it is to use that, sort of the goal they have for Pixel Game Maker. It seems to be, I mean, all the games I'm seeing are side-scrollers, but I don't see why you couldn't do a top-down game in them. If you want to make some kind of 2D action game, Pixel Game Maker is going to try to provide that. And thankfully, I just realized, oh yeah, I have a bunch of sprites already made from when I tried to make that platformer and got a little ways in, but not quite. I'm very excited about this because I have a lot of game ideas bouncing around in my head relentlessly. And I would love to actually put one of those out and tell you all about it. Especially, man, I feel bad about this because there was a guy who was actually trying to work with me out of nowhere on a game, and I just was unprepared. I really do want to make a Ninja Fairy game. Okay, that one deserves backstory, though, because there's a reason why I would specifically say we need a Ninja Fairy game, and that's Wizardry 7 and 8. This is one of those weird pieces of trivia I gotta tell you about because it blows my mind. Wizardry, very long-running, very old RPG dungeon crawler series, one of the first in a lot of ways. The 7th and 8th installments, they let you have fairies as a playable race. And one of the classes you can be is a ninja, so you could have a ninja fairy. And the main reason why a ninja fairy matters is because only a ninja fairy can wield the strongest weapon in the game. In Wizardry 7, it did the whole random stat roll thing, and so part of the reason behind that was just, it's really, number one, a ninja fairy isn't exactly the best idea. Fairies are kind of squishy, but on top of that, it was a really, really hard stat roll to get, to have the right stats to be able to make your fairy a ninja. So that was sort of the idea behind it, was no one's going to be able to pull it off, and in the off chance you do, then congratulations, you get to use the strongest weapon in the game. Wizardry 8 just lets you make a ninja fairy, which you bet your butt I did. But that's the kind of thing that just gets your brain going, doesn't it? And you're like, what the heck would a ninja fairy game be like? And it's like, it'd be like, in my head, I'm like, it'd be kind of like Strider, except you could fly. And all the enemies would be huge. I want to make that game. It's on the laundry list of games to be made. But we're gonna start with the basic platform. I'm very excited to try this. And again, that's July 24th, which is next Tuesday. And the 20% off deal is only until July 30th. So it's very much for people who hop on board early when it might still have a number of bugs, which I will absolutely do that. If you want to try out the kind of games you can make in it, though, the publisher, Kadokawa and Playism, have already released 2 of them on Steam as free downloads, so that way, You can download them and go, oh, wow, this is a really neat game. I want to make something like that. They're called Bike Dash Excite and Witch and 66 Mushrooms. They are two titles made completely with the program, being released obviously as sort of a promo thing to, give you an idea of what you can do with this program. I'm very excited. Especially now that I've actually seen the program in action, because they've got a trailer for it, and I'm like, this looks like what I was looking for in a game creation toolkit. So, very, very excited about that. I'm actually currently watching the trailer for Witch and 66 Mushrooms, and that's looking surprisingly character action-y. She has got a good variety of attacks there. Not seeing any like crazy combos or anything, but yeah, that's a good backdash there. Yeah. Let's see, that's for download. Okay, that one's not for download yet. That's a bit of a shame. I want to play that right now. No, they only have Bike Dash Excite up for download right now. But still, you can get a good idea of what you can do with the program from those, and I'm super hyped to give it a shot, because if you want to make me a 2D platformer action game maker that's as easy to use as RPG Maker, I am in. Keep in mind, this of course isn't this company's first outing in this, by the way. There's actually a number of different Game Maker games they've been making since the very, very early days. Immediately after RPG Maker, they made Shooting Game Maker. They might have actually made Shooting Game Maker before RPG Maker, because I think there was one of those on the NES. Not kidding. I'm pretty sure there was Shooting Game Maker on NES. I seem to recall that there was definitely one on Super Nintendo, almost certainly. They actually did make a Rail Shooter Maker on, which I need to actually do that for my Rail Shooter archive sometime. They did make a Chase View Rail Shooter Maker on PS1. It was very limited, but it did exist. There was there was Fighter Maker, which you might recall we got 3D Fighter Maker on PS1, and then the sequel on PS2. But there was also 2D Fighter Maker, which was used to make a lot of really, really good fighting games, including what's that? Vanguard Princess? That was made in 2D Fighting Game Maker. And that is honestly easier to use than Mugen. I fiddled around with like a rough translation of it a bunch of years back. So this company, they tend to make a lot of easy game-making toolkits, and I'm interested to see how Pixel Game Maker MV turns out. I'll give you a report, but obviously I won't be able to really crack into it until after the show. But after the show, yeah, I'm gonna mess around with that. We'll see if maybe by next week, maybe by week after next, if I can churn out a basic game for you all to download. See how it goes. I might be giving myself too much credit, but I want to try that. I want to see where we get with this. I need to stop just rambling on about that though. So here's good news, especially because I couldn't get into the last beta. Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Strikers Open Beta. They will be doing another one of those July 19th to the 21st and July 27th to the 29th. To anyone unfamiliar with this, and you might be a little surprised because I hate Naruto, but this one I'm interested in because it's a multiplayer online fighting game-ish brawlity thing made by Valhalla Studios, as in Tomonobu Itagaki's studio from after he left Team Ninja and Tecmo. Yeah, they're actually making a game other than Devil's Third, and it's this Naruto fighting game. And apparently you get to make your own custom character in it too, so maybe I can make a character that doesn't suck. That has me a little interested. I want to know what the gameplay is like. I want to sink my teeth into it. I want to mess around with the character customization. I just want to know what it's like. And I tried to get into the last beta, and the servers were pretty much full for the whole thing. It was a disaster on the last beta. So this one should hopefully work, and it says the open beta client will be available on the PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store. So Xbox One users will also be able to play it. I look forward to giving it a spin. Oh, we've got release dates. Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker will be coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC August 31st. And yeah, digital pre-order bonuses are 7th Hokage costume, black and white Shinobi Striker coats, and early access to the Pain Master character. Really? Got a character called the Pain Master. Okay. I'm fine with this. Either way, I want to give that thing a chance. But moving on, what else have we got? Oh! Pikachu is the first Pokemon with a Funko Pop figure. It is horrifying. Like, some things were not meant to be Funko Pops. I would argue most things weren't meant to be Funko Pops, but Pikachu is one of them. That figure almost terrifies me as much as the Dr. Seuss Funko Pops. If you want to see what a true nightmare looks like, if you want to be horrified, look up the Dr. Seuss Funko Pops, especially Fox and Socks, and the Cat in the Hat. You will begin crying. You will curl up into a little ball and begin sobbing uncontrollably at the sight of these figures because they are horrifying. It mostly has to do with the Funko Pops have a square head and these black beady eyes, and you put those on the Cat in the Hat and Fox and Socks, and stuff of nightmares. Moving on. Under Night in Birth EXE latest will be hitting Steam August 20th. Why do you care? It's a good fighter. The Under Night, it's cripes, that is the most nonsensical title for anything ever. But the Under Night in Birth series is a bunch of fighting games from former indie fighting game developers that had worked on the Melty Blood series, if you've ever heard of that. Point is, they made really good indie fighters, and they're like, hey, we're gonna do, like, one for serious, and it's gonna have, like, high-res 2D sprites. It's gonna be really cool, and it's a really, really, really good game. I just find the character design so painfully bland that I can't play it. But yes, that will be hitting Steam August 20th, so if you want to play good high-res 2D fighter, bam, there you go. Moving on, Final Fantasy XV is adding the Rathalos fight on August 7th. Because yes, Final Fantasy XV is not done yet. You might have thought, oh hey, with the Royal Edition, this has all the DLC. Nope! You've actually got more DLC episodes scheduled for your Final Fantasy XV experience, so please stay tuned for those. I know next up is episode Arden, and then I think they said episode Aranea after that. And then, like, episode Luna Freya is going to be the final one. I think there's one in the middle there that unfortunately is not episode Cindy. I wish it was. But Final Fantasy XV is still getting new content. The Rathalos fight is, of course, part of the big Monster Hunter crossover event where you can get Final Fantasy costumes in Monster Hunter, and you can fight a behemoth in Monster Hunter. And meanwhile, the Rathalos comes to Final Fantasy XV for a big old boss fight, and that'll be August 7th. So, good times there. Also, this is a fun one. A hacker has hacked the Rank X leaderboards on Splatoon 2 to make them read, "Please add anti-cheat." Pretty much this guy was so fed up with... Apparently, there's a lot of hacking going on in Splatoon 2, mostly in the high scoreboards, and it's ruining this guy's fun. So he decided to actually go in there, hack the game himself, in order to make it say, please do something about the hackers. And he even went up and said, if Nintendo wants to console ban me, I accept my ban. I just want this message sent. The hackers are ruining the game. So he has had his X power reduced to 0, but he's hoping that it sent a message, which if it didn't, I would be very frustrated. Because, yeah, it wasn't like he didn't just make his name please add anti-cheat. Because that wouldn't fit. He made 4 different names that were please, add, anti, and cheat. and made them the top high scorers in, like, all the different events. So that way, when you looked at the leaderboards and it showed all the top players, it would read, please add anti-cheat. Very nice, very nice. Good on him. Bravo. Glad you did that. Hope it does send a message. I have not gotten nearly enough into Splatoon 2. As much as I enjoy Splatoon, I haven't really sat down with Splatoon 2 the way I should have. Even though I have a friend who is friggin' loving the game. So yeah, that is a thing. Actually, speaking of Nintendo, this I think is actually some pretty big news, at least in my book. Nintendo kind of announced / let slip that they will be doing more updates for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Basically, the guy in charge of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was like, "Hey, you saw the new patch that lets you use the Nintendo Labo bike with Mario Kart 8. Well, we've got more updates coming. Please stay tuned." So that could just mean more goofy Labo support or something stupid. Or, and I do think this is highly likely, and I have my fingers crossed, it could mean maybe we'll get more tracks and characters. Because Mario Kart 8 is friggin' great, and if they want to release more DLC tracks, I'll buy. I will gladly throw money at them if they want to give me another expansion pack. Because more Mario Kart 8 tracks would be worth it. Especially because there's no point in making a Mario Kart 9. So if they just want to make a Mario Kart 9's worth of extra tracks and karts and characters, which admittedly we already have enough characters and karts, really all we need is some extra tracks, I'd be perfectly down with that. That would actually get me really into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe again. So I'm hoping that it's something interesting and fun like that. Moving on, I guess while we're on Nintendo news, the next Pokemon movie, we've got the new one coming out, Everyone's Story, but for next year, the 2019 movie is revealed as Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. We'll see how this goes. I guess they're going to, I don't know, but I'm going to assume that it's going to be a retelling of Mewtwo Strikes Back, but with the new movie universe that they're doing. Basically, starting with that last Pokemon movie, they've decided to basically have the movies not be related to the TV series. You know, it's still about Ash, but it's like a different cast of side characters and different portrayal of the world. One of the major focuses being, like, blending the world and modernizing it, where you have, Pokemon from the newer generations going back to Kanto and stuff. It's just kind of interesting, I guess. I haven't seen the last movie. I just know about the scene where Pikachu talks and everyone goes, what in the entire heck? Because it's apparently really weird and dumb. But I am interested in seeing this because, of course, I love Mewtwo Strikes Back. It seems like the goal with the newer Pokemon movies is to use the whole alternate universe angle to make them more serious. Really, I wish they would have gone the Pokemon Generations route. I may be alone on this one, but I wish they didn't have Ash. I wish they would have had a Red. If anyone out there knows what I mean by that. Because I think it was called Pokemon Generations. I need to double check this, but they did a short mini series of Pokemon anime that was a closer retelling of the games a while back, and it had Red and Blue instead of Ash and Gary, and that was actually pretty darn neat. And I'd love more things like that. Absolutely. Speaking of mini episodes, Sonic Mania Adventures 5th and final episode is out. If you haven't been keeping up, basically they've decided to do a short web animated series for Sonic Mania, drawn in sort of the Sonic CD style that the Sonic Mania opening was drawn in. And yeah, short little Sonic animated series. Apparently, Mighty and Ray showed up in the last one. Anyway, time for another break. So here's Ins and Outs by Sophia Carson, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much. That was This Is America by Childish Gambino here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jel, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, sorry for the slightly long break, but I do have to admit, a little bit of a slow week once again. We finally found the summer drought. Usually the summer is the big game drought and nothing's coming out and there's not a lot to talk about. You know, there's E3 and everyone gets excited about that, and then there's like nothing, and we finally found the nothing. Because we had a pretty active summer full of releases up until this point. Still, plenty to talk about. Let's see. I think the thing that most intrigues me is that Fire Pro Wrestling World is nearly ready for its console release, and I think that's going to be awkward because it's so good on Steam. Like, as a lot of people should know, I'm not really much of a PC gamer. I don't really like playing games on PC as much as I do on console, but with Fire Pro, it's just a perfect fit, because if you've never played it, Fire Pro Wrestling is a pretty much legendary wrestling game, but all the characters are just a bunch of 2D sprites strung together, but it has really, really good character customization. Always has. And people have always wanted a good way to be able to exchange and trade characters, and the Steam release, which has been out for a while through early access, the Steam release of Fire Pro Wrestling World has Steam Workshop support, and when you create a character in the game, you can just upload it to the Steam Workshop. You could just browse through there and download it, and there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of characters that people have made that you can download that look utterly incredible, that a lot of work went into. There's some really surprising stuff people have pulled off, and there's just mountains of it, tons of it, and it's like, how do you even transport that to PS4? Is there any way? Like, if they could find a way to convert a character file into like a string of letters and numbers, that would be one thing. Or some way to just port data from PC to the console, but I don't think there's anything like that. So everyone's going to have to remake their characters, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of better on PC. Anyway, though, they've just announced that they are going to have some DLC, which probably has people groaning, but no, they're not. They're not doing DLC parts. This is like the one game where DLC create-a-character parts would actually... It would be weird. There's so many parts already in the game, but yeah, it would be awkward if they tried to pull DLC character parts. No, instead, what they've got is the Junior Heavyweight story, where it's a story mode based on New Japan Pro Wrestling's Junior Heavyweight division from 2017 to 2018. And it will come with a bunch of wrestlers from Japan. Jushin Thunder / Liger, Tiger Mask, Ford, Jado, Will Ospreay, Sho, Yo, Rocky Romero, Beretta, Yujiro Takahashi, Dragon Lee, and more. There will be another story mode, but the most intriguing one, that is set for a fall 2018 release date, is Fire Promoter Mode. Taking this straight from the press release. The popular mode from previous Fire Pro games where players manage a pro wrestling organization returns. It is called Fire Promoter. Launch an original organization all your own. Hire wrestlers. Train and strengthen them. Collaborate with other organizations. Put on shows, sell goods, and more in this detailed pro wrestling organization management experience. Now you're talking! That sounds like a blast, and I think a lot of people are really, really, really going to love that, especially because that's not really something you could do properly with, like, a WWE game. The idea of a mode of create your own wrestling organization, and book the shows and plan all that stuff out, I think people are going to like that. I think I'm going to like that. I'm not even that big into wrestling, but that mode, that sounds like a hoot to me. In other news, apparently, there is a game that came out in Japan made by 3 people over a number of years. That's just hitting Steam. Apparently it hit early access July 11th, called Dead or School. It is a side-scrolling action game where, big surprise, you play a schoolgirl who has lived underground her entire life, and zombies have overrun the world. The most important thing is that it looks really fun. She has a ton of weapons, and she can punch her fist through zombies and slam them into the ground. That part actually has me intrigued. But yeah, 2D side-scroller, beat the crap out of zombies game. Looks really promising. They're going to try to get a PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch release. They are submitting it for that now. But yeah, apparently it has sold really well in Japan, and seems pretty promising. I think I might want this game. I am impressed at the amount of work that went into it. So yeah, that is certainly a thing. Let's see if we got anything else. Like I said, slow week. Let's see. Yeah, no, we're pretty well out of things. Oh, except for My Hero Academia 1's Justice. They are showing more gameplay footage of that. It is, of course, the My Hero Academia fighting game, which everyone's like, oh yeah, My Hero Academia fighting game. And then everyone's like, oh, it's just like the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games. And they're like, oh, those games are flashy, but they're kind of garbage. And so a lot of people really quickly lost faith in the game. But I was like, wait a second. It's not being made by CyberConnect 2. It's being made by Byking. And Byking has pedigree. Byking are the people who make the Gundam Versus games and Gunslinger Stratos. And technically they're the people who made Gotcha Force. You know, Byking pretty much is the origin of the whole arena fighter craze that has taken off. They are the arena fighter developers. But most of their games have been heavily projectile-based. I haven't seen them do one that has been all about just one that's been all about close-range combat the way My Hero Academia 1's Justice is. So this is very much a change for them. Watching the trailers, I believe one of the comments I saw said it best. This game looks both polished and unpolished at the same time, and that it looks a lot like a GameCube game in a lot of ways. Like, the visuals look nice, but they're not mind-blowing. Things are flashy, but they're not as flashy as we would like. Gameplay looks good, but maybe not as good as we would like. And there's certainly a lot of parts, like, it doesn't really look like you're watching the show really happening and you're controlling it. It very much looks like a video game. You know, I'm seeing bits where characters are doing, their ground moves in the air, where the repeating animations are really obvious. It doesn't have quite as much flash and presentation as one might like from a game like this. Having said that, I do like what I've seen. I think there's a little bit too many cutaway for super move moments. But other than that, what I'm seeing looks like something that might have a little bit more depth to it once we really get hands-on with the game. I absolutely want to pick it up. I want to get hands-on. I want to sink my teeth into this one. And I'm hoping that there's more to it than just, I don't know, throwing out super moves. I think My Hero 1's Justice has potential, but that potential is going to be entirely in the gameplay. This is not a game that presents itself well. And in this weird way, the fact that the presentation doesn't look that good is a large part of why I'm like, I think the gameplay for this might be solid. But again, really hard call to make, and we will find out where it sits in that zone. Well, when it launches, which is, I think they said October or something. It's supposed to be coming out pretty soonish. It's nearing completion. Here's hoping that it's actually good. Again, Byking working on it. I have a lot of faith in King as game developers, especially in this genre. I really look forward to giving it a shot, because, of course, I'm loving My Hero Academia. I finally got caught up on it. I think I'm like maybe 1 or 2 episodes behind now. But I caught up on it, and, man, that show, that is a good show. That was deciding to make that show, take breaks the way they're handling it, instead of like new episodes every week without fail, actually taking these long breaks between seasons is really helping the show out, and I am surprised at how it gets me. I was laughing and crying at the same time when we got the United States of Smash. That was, I don't want to spoil too much else, but that was certainly a moment that they know how to squeeze some pathos out of those fights sometimes. So I'm looking forward to playing the game. I haven't been this involved in a shonen anime, cripes, like ever. Like, since G Gundam. And G Gundam I watched because it was hilarious. This is something really solid. I love My Hero Academia. It's really good. If you haven't watched it, you should give it a spin. It has a bit of a slow start, but it's actually really solid. And I look forward to trying this game and seeing how it plays. But again, ways off. I don't see any open betas on the horizon or anything. So yeah. Anyway, time to kick y'all back to the music. So here is The Mountain by 3 Days Grace, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. And please stay tuned for hopefully a little more GameBabble Live. That was These Days by Rudimental featuring Jess Glynn and Mackle, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. And this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, I thought I didn't have anything to talk about, and then I found at least one more thing. Good old VR. Yes, indeed. It is always overlooked, and this is no exception. I thought we didn't have any games coming out today, but no. Hop Along Badlands. Yeah, Hop Along the Badlands came out today for the PSVR. Told you there's a new game every week. So that's good. But what's even better is, well, what Jeff Minter's doing to make up for the Tempest 4000 debacle. See, Tempest 4K was supposed to come to PS4 a while back, and it was going to have PSVR support. Unfortunately, Atari stepped in and told him he couldn't make the game. He negotiated with Atari. Now Tempest 4000 is coming out, but there's no VR mode, even though it used to have a VR mode. And it's questionable why it was cut. There are many questions to be asked about that. One person actually theorizes that it's because, Atari's trying to make their own console, which is going to be a disaster, and Tempest 4000 is going to be a launch title for it, and so they don't want the PS4 version to be better. That's one theory. It could have been that they just delayed it because it was, it would have tied up the certification process, and maybe it'll be patched in later. We'll certainly find out, but that's okay a little bit, because Jeff Minter has just announced 2 new games that will support VR and can also be played completely on a flat screen as well. He is releasing a game called Minotaur Arcade Volume 1, which contains Grid Runner and Goat Up. Both of those are classic Jeff Minter games. Grid Runner actually dates back to the Commodore 64. It was like one of his earliest popular games before he got popular for Tempest 2000. And it started as sort of just a Centipede clone, and then it turned into this complete nonsense. And then Goat Up is a goat-based platformer. Either way, both of these are coming in this pack called Minotaur Arcade Volume 1 that will support PlayStation VR, they can be played without VR, and it's actually kind of funny, because I'm watching the gameplay video he's put out, and it starts out kind of stupid. It's just, okay, so you're in VR, but you're playing the game on, like, a curved CRT screen, so it's like, okay, this is kind of dumb. Oh, wait, the enemies are sticking out of the screen a bit. The explosions are popping out of the screen a bit. The star field is around you, and as you go on, it gets crazier and crazier. The field gets spherical and cylindrical and starts changing shape and doing weird things. And then Goat Up is like a tower climbing game, so it's always kind of 3D-ish. But, yeah, he's putting out some new Jeff Mintery goodness in VR, and that makes me very happy. So I like Jeff Minter's work. I like the PlayStation VR. And again, it is a bonus. It is not required. In more interesting VR news, though, it seems that Survios really is going all in. Survios is the makers of Raw Data, and they just made Sprint Vector. I believe they have a boxing game called Creed. Yeah, Creed Rise to Glory, which is, like, loosely tied in with the Rocky franchise, and it's a more simulation-y VR boxing game. And their next thing that they're putting out is a thing called Electronauts, which is a virtual reality DJ game. Like, actually a music creation program, not just, like, DJ Hero in VR, though that would have been really cool. It is actually supposed to be a music creation program that can make it so anyone can make music in VR. And you're probably like, well, what's the advantage of a music creation program in VR? Well, you can kind of, like, play instruments in VR to add to the tracks and stuff. Like, having a literal virtual suite surrounding you while you DJ around, gonna be kind of great. Also, I think one of my favorite things is the little trailer they have out. I haven't heard it with the actual audio, but there's something kind of beautiful about someone actually DJing a rave with a VR headset on. And that'll, of course, be even better with the PlayStation Moves. They're already glow sticks, although then you have to worry about the other glow sticks interfering with your trackers. But still, they're already glow sticks, so there's something, like, just right about VR DJing a rave with the glowy PSVR headset. It's glowing everywhere. It very much is, it very much looks like it'll be fun. And I mean, the thing that I like about it is just the fact that it's such a beautiful in the year 2018. Yo, we should have virtual DJing by now. It's the future, darn it. We don't got our flying cars. We can at least have our virtual DJs. Okay, Goat Up is a very interesting looking game. Okay. Goating on up. That just looks silly. I look forward to that. So good. We got more VR games on the horizon as usual. We got new stuff coming out. And yeah, VR DJing could be a thing. So yeah, unfortunately, I literally have no clue what else to say. I will do one more sweep of the news sites. So let's see, anything new here? No. Anything new here? No, I think we might just be good. I mean, the South Park Stick of Truth will be coming to Switch by September. It's about all we got left. So yeah, that about wraps up today's GameBabble Live. I know it's cut it a little bit short here. But again, it's summer. We got the summer game drought going on. And next week will be far more exciting. Cripes. We've got the What all is coming out next week? Oh, yeah. Okay, a lot of that will be after the show, though. So, next show might be a little slow, too. But show after that. Because next week, we've got Pixel Game Maker MV hitting early access on Steam. We've got the Naruto Shinobi Striker beta. We've got the Gundam Battle Operations 2 beta. There will be some far more interesting things to talk about week after next. But until then, I am very excited to see what all goes down with that. I'm most excited to finally get my hands on Pixel Game Maker. I'm glad that's coming out sooner rather than later because my mind has been buzzing with games I want to try to make, and I need to get hands on with a toolkit that might make making those a little bit less of a pain in the butt than using the existing Game Maker toolkit. I'm really excited to sink my teeth into that. And there's going to be a bunch of garbage made with it too. But there'll also be a bunch of other games, interesting games, fun games. I can't wait to play them and make them. I'm sorry. I have literally been sifting through different game-making programs for a very long while. And I think if any of them are going to wind up working out, it's one from the makers of RPG Maker. So we'll see what we wind up with. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this week's GameBabble Live. Be sure to tune in next week from noon to 3 p.m. on Tuesday for yet another wonderful, rousing episode of GameBabble Live. We'll see what all transpires in that week, and hopefully something interesting will happen. Until then, thank you for joining me, and I'll kick you back to the music. So here's Make You Feel Pretty by Lovely the Band, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the music. See you next week, and stay tuned.